Today we are taking a look at a Honda CB750F Super Sport. This generation of motorcycles was introduced back in 1979 together with its bigger brother, the CB900F, and stayed in production until around 1982. In the years leading up to 1979, other Japanese manufacturers like Kawasaki and Suzuki had released more powerful and better handling four-cylinder motorcycles. So with this generation, Honda made a number of improvements to try to catch up with the competition. And probably the biggest change from the previous gen is the switch from single to dual overhead cam engines with 4 valves per cylinder, which added more horsepower and a lot more torque. There are other minor changes that I will show you as we take a closer look at the motorcycle. This one in particular is a 1982 model year. We can see the 4-cylinder 750cc 4-stroke engine in all its glory with a dual overhead cam. Air-cooled only. Engine is paired with a 5-speed manual transmission. When it came out of the factory, it made around 77 horsepower at 9,000 RPM and 57 pound-feet of torque at 8,000 RPM. And we're going to see how it performs later when we take it for a quick ride. Redline is at 9,500 RPM and top speed is somewhere around 120 miles per hour. Unlike the previous generation, this motorcycle only has an electric starter, so no kickstart. Fuel tank holds just over 5 gallons of gas, giving it a range of about 200 miles. And weight is a bit over 500 pounds dry. 2 slotted disc brakes with dual piston calipers in the front, 1 in the back. 4x2 dual chrome exhaust pipes. And by the way, here's a quick shot of the exhaust note. Mechanically, this motorcycle is fully stock. The only modifications that have been made to it are the paint and the decals. In 1982, this bike was available in either black or silver, both with black painted engines. This one was repainted blue about 5 years ago. And the original decals included some stripes along the sides and the spelled out Honda logo instead of the wing. But other than that, everything in this motorcycle is stock. I personally really like the design. You have some elements of the single overhead cam motorcycles of the 70s, like the front end and chrome exhausts, that are mixed with design cues of the 80s, like the continuous cover that goes from the tank all the way to the tail. Being a super sport motorcycle, storage was not on the list of priorities for the Honda engineers. The seat is fixed in place, and the only storage compartment is small and hard to access. You need to remove the side cover first, and then using the key to unlock this little door, you can access this storage, which holds a toolkit and a couple of documents, and that's it. That's pretty much all you can store in this motorcycle. Before we take it for a ride, let's take a quick look at the controls. On the left, we have the usual buttons: high, low beam, horn, and blinkers. On the right, engine, kill switch, and starter button. Speedometer only reads up to 85 miles per hour. That's because of a ridiculous bill that was passed in the US in 1979 that limited speedometers to 85 miles per hour, and that's for all cars, trucks, and motorcycles. And this law was ended in 1981 as they found out it wasn't really doing anything. People were still speeding, just not knowing how much they were speeding, I guess. But Honda had to use up all these speedometers that they built, so even though this bike is from 1982, it still has this unusual speedometer. Anyways, over here we have our tachometer on the right, choke knob, warning lights, trip meter, and odometer. As you can see, this bike has just over 30,000 miles, which, considering how old it is, really isn't all that many. That's about 800 miles per year. So that's about it for the features of this motorcycle. Now it's time to take it for a spin and see how it rides. And let's just wait for my co-pilot to hop on here 1 second. So riding position is definitely comfortable thanks to these wide handlebars. They allow you to sit pretty upright with your weight evenly distributed. Seat is plenty soft. A common modification on these bikes is putting clip-on bars that lower the riding position quite a bit to make it more sporty. And I'm sure that would be a lot tougher on your back for longer rides. Clutch engagement is very linear and predictable. Transmission is pretty smooth. I never have trouble finding neutral. Shifting from first to second can sometimes be a little jerky, but that might just be me. I'm a pretty inexperienced rider, but all other gear shifts are buttery smooth. Now, you can definitely feel the need for an extra gear when you're just cruising at higher speeds. At 55 miles per hour, we're getting what? Around 4,000 or 5,000 RPM. But 5-speed transmissions were pretty much the norm back then. Even without an overdrive 6th gear, I've been averaging about 35 to 38 miles per hour, which really isn't too bad. It definitely builds power progressively. There's decent amount of torque at low RPM, but you want to bring up the RPM to at least 3,000 to 4,000 to really start feeling the pull. And don't forget, peak horsepower doesn't come until 9,000 RPM and peak torque is at 8,000, so it really keeps on pulling strong as you accelerate past mid-range. Suspensions are on the softer side. There's quite a bit of travel during hard acceleration and braking. It's amazing to think that this was considered a super sport bike back then. Modern motorcycles, even in non-sporty segments, are much better damped. But then again, this bike is almost 40 years old, so it's to be expected. Engine never really gets too hot, even here in Southern California during summertime. I mean, you definitely feel like you're cooking if you're waiting at a long red light on a hot sunny day, but that's with any motorcycle. I personally really like the engine sound. It has that typical 4-cylinder noise of Hondas, almost like a little whining noise that's typical also of the single overhead cam Hondas of the 70s. But the large size of the engine definitely adds some more lower, deeper tones to it compared to, for example, a Honda CB750F that I've recently been on. It's definitely not nimble by modern standards. You can really feel it's 500 pounds of weight, even without a passenger in the back. But it's definitely manageable. So I hope you enjoyed this video and maybe learned something new about motorcycles from this era. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. I'll see you next time.